Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Reuben, joined here today with Aaron, and we are back to review Severance Season 2, Episode 2, Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig. A little spoiler discussion. We dropped our initial review on Friday, but yeah, we're going to get more in depth, as we mentioned on the previous review, talk about some theories, and get Aaron's thoughts on the episode. And of course, if you want to listen to this wherever you get your podcasts, you can. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and plenty more places. And also follow us on social media at Nerd Soup, at Beau Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey. Aaron, I gave you a shout out on our review, told people to go follow you, give you those dopamine hits. So I hope you enjoyed them while they last. And yeah, go to Patreon if you want some more Nerd Soup. That applies to you too, Aaron, if I don't know. Me and Nash did the podcast. I don't know if you want to listen to it.
No, I'm good on that.
That's it. Just no reason.
No, I think I'm just good. You know, sometimes you're just good. You know,
I want to say fair enough, but I feel like you're not being fair. But probably a good choice because Nash did traumatize all of our listeners with a horrifying story about a raccoon. I can't get it out of my head, honestly. I'm really pissed off that he shared that story, and I'm sure a lot of people are pissed off at us for not cutting it out of the podcast. But for me, I had no choice. I was a co-host. I just had to stomach it, but everybody else could, you know, he builds up to the story. I feel like you could click it off.
I think I know the story you're talking about, and yeah, I'm good.
Oh, he told you the same story?
I think so. He's got a lot of stories, actually. All of them.
Yeah, just fucking thinks he's Homer.
Unsettling.
He does. It's never like a wholesome, sweet story from Nash. Nothing ever good happens. Not to him, but he's just such a... Yeah, he's a witness to all these horrific things.
Yeah. Or like embarrassing or just unsettling. Icky.
We really need to get him on the Severance reviews because this is a perfect show for him. So everything that he witnesses in real life, he could really dissect this show with a clearer eye because he's just used to it. But you know what? Let's stop with the cold open because people are like, what the hell? Why don't you just get into the review? Severance, Season 2, Episode 2, Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig. So, Aaron, like I said, I'll let you start. I'll put all the pressure on you, put all the spotlight on you, so you can deliver us your thoughts on what you thought about Severance Season 2, Episode 2.
I don't like starting, but I guess I will.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Well, my review, I talked about the episode. I gave my thoughts. I talked about some of the characters, some of the shots, lines of dialogue, the narrative.
Like a review.
Typical review. Yeah, standard.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll pretend like you just said a bunch of stuff, and I'll...
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get into the scene
some good points, some dumb points, messed up some names.
Funny joke.
Yeah, funny joke or two. Bad joke, yeah, mostly bad.
But you sandwich it in between two good ones.
Oh, exactly, right, yeah.
That's
two
good, yeah.
fine pieces of sliced bread.
And then you made a callback to the bad joke, which actually, in retrospect, made it a little funnier. That's good. I'll give that a thumbs up then. Yeah, we talked about it last week, just how intrigued we were to see the outside perspective of the aftermath of the season finale. And I mean, right off the bat, I think it was just interesting. Well, the most interesting thing that I found was just the dynamic between Devin and Mark Scout after coming to. And I think it was pretty clever the way they played with the whole she's alive thing, because I didn't even think that could refer to the baby. That he just got really hyped that they found the baby. Underrated, funniest part, maybe in the show, is when Mark finds the baby and the guy comes in and takes it. It's like, I found her all by myself. That guy
was that one of their friends or was it Rickon?
No, that was one of their friends. That's the guy.
Their obnoxious friend, right?
Yes.
Who made the remark about World War I.
Yeah, the foodless dinner party.
Right. Yeah. That guy sucks.
But yeah, I found that dynamic to be quite interesting. Mark not really buying into the whole thing. I mean, obviously him explaining that he had to identify the body and he went through all of it, but Devin being the one who really won't let that idea that they could know something about Gemma and try to convince Mark that there's more to this. So I felt that dynamic throughout the episode was really the most intriguing part. Obviously we found out, which we alluded to last week, great insight by us, that everything they said to the innies is just a complete lie. It hasn't been 5 months. The newspaper article was fake. So yeah, just the manipulation, and we've seen how they manipulated the innies throughout the series so far, but we really haven't gotten many interactions between the Audis and Lumen up until this point, and seeing how they kind of use that manipulation, especially with Mark when Milchek tries to get him back to Lumen, was really interesting. They're just, I mean, it's the core traits of a cult is being able to manipulate people into doing what you want. And playing on his emotions, playing on his grief was just one of the more ickiest parts of the show so far.
Yeah. It's despicable, really.
Yeah, and that's why I think Milchek is just such a great character, because the way he's able to flip on a dime and bring you in with that welcoming smile, but also just being able to twist your mind into doing what he wants is it's such a great performance. And everything from, I mean, we talked about it, the technical aspect of it. I mean, that scene when he's sitting there with the fish tank behind him, half his face illuminated, it was just absolutely chilling. And I think that's one of the best things this show does, is creating such a great atmosphere. Someone pointed it out on Twitter, like Daredevil from Netflix versus Daredevil now. And it's just a simple shot at a diner, and the way the camera is lower on Fisk and Matt just creates a different environment to that shot, the way it's framed. And they showed like a similar scene from the Netflix trailer, and it's just them perfectly in the middle. And it's just such a vast difference on creating this environment in which locks the viewer in. And I think that's what this show does so great, is interesting angles, interesting framing. You're not just watching the things go on in the screen. You're like kind of, I don't want to say it manipulates the audience's engagement level in a way that I think really locks you in, unlike any other show on right now, because everything tells a story, not just the words these characters are saying or seeing the plot develops. I feel like every shot is just so carefully curated to the point where it really is just an amazing spectacle, not in the sense of like obviously big action set pieces, but they're able to do it in dim rooms and dead offices. It's such an interesting way they're able to do that to tell the story, and it's something that I appreciate a lot. I'm left with more questions now. I mean, especially seeing how these characters react, what the Lumen's plan is, the way that conversation with Helena and Cobell. There's just so many things to dive into, and little things that I've never really noticed before. I think I've noticed it, but I never really paid too much attention to it. But the 80s, 70s cars in this modern world where they use smartphones and laptops, I've just been thinking all week, like, I don't think Kier, this town, is real somehow. I feel like it's just some satellite city existing on its own. And the only thing that really pushes me back on that is Mark W. saying he had to break a lease in Grand Rapids, but he's old. He could just be crazy. There's just something unsettling about the environment. Like the one diner they go to, it's like, I'm trying to compare it to something else. It just seems like an isolated...
Feels a little bit like a Truman Show.
Right. And we touched
in the map,
it.
on PD's map, they talk about how he had the living spaces on the map, so suggesting that it's just all Lumen, that it's not just the severed floor. I mean, we've seen people outside of Lumen in that town who are severed.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced Dylan's wife isn't a real person.
Right. Like, we don't see her. I mean, I think she's in one of the trailers, but the manipulation can just be all over the place in the outside world as well. And especially with Irving, there's definitely something more to that character. The way they are able, like, why Gemma, right? Like, Mark didn't work there before Gemma died. So how were they able to, like, it just seems like that was their plan somehow, some reason why they needed Mark Scout to come to Lumen somehow, and they were like, it's like a chicken and the egg situation. Like, what did they really need, and what was the point of all this? Because it's just not a coincidence that they randomly picked Gemma either to fake her death or clone her or switch the body out and burn it so Mark can identify him. Whatever they did to Gemma to get Mark to work there, like, why did they do that? Are these strings planted? Is like the Benny Gesserit, like putting these fucking plans into motion years in advance and trying to enact their master plan? I don't know.
Mentioning that the town feels fake does remind me now of Neon Genesis Evangelion, where it felt like a real town and there was a school with all these children, but you later learn that the children are essentially guinea pigs. And it's not that they're all going to be used and experimented on, but if the situation arises where that kid, that specific kid, is the right person for the job, then that's the route they're going to go. So I imagine the town of Kier, it just so happens that Mark and Gemma maybe got unlucky. And because of this connection that they have, and I've seen a lot of theories about how the Lumen office looks like the outline of a brain. And people are saying that the numbers that they're dealing with has something to do with brain activity and neurons. There's a lot of in-depth theories that people are talking about on Reddit. So maybe that's why it's this connection that Mark has with Gemma. Could be something explained as true love, but then there's real data and numbers to back that up. That because they have this connection, whatever work he's doing makes him more efficient. It just makes him better than anybody else because that's his true love. It could be something as, cliche as that, but like I said, there's real numerical value to that.
Yeah, he has metachlorian levels. He's the Anakin of Kier.
He's the Anakin of being down bad for a baddie. Like, he's so down bad for this chick.
Listen, man.
Miss Casey lookalike party.
But even the technology Helena uses to record her message,
right?
Like there's just something off. It could just be an alternate reality, or I don't know what's going on. But that was another fun aspect because we never really seen Helena other than those videos that Helly got from the inside. And I think what they did with that character was very interesting too. We kind of just painted her as a bad guy, and she also was saying some out of pocket shit in those videos, like, you're not a real person, stay where you are, don't fucking do that again or I'll kill you type shit. But
and even in this episode, she's very robotic when she's talking at the end about what they need Mark to do.
Right.
There's no emotion.
She seems like, I don't know. And they talked about it in the post-game press conference, that it could be Helena just trying to, seeing Helly with Mark, something that she doesn't have, At first, I thought she was just trying to kind of map out her mannerisms because in order to replicate Helly to manipulate the other innies, but it could be some of that. But it also seems like, in a way, she might have more freedom than she does on the outside because she was born into this cult. Obviously, her father has a lot of influence on what she does, and she almost seems trapped in her own way. So, Helena redemption story coming up? Could be.
Yeah, no, I find that to be super interesting because when you talk about things I didn't expect, going that route just makes it so much more juicy than she's working for her father, she's working for this corporation, and they don't know that it's Helena instead of Heliar, but it's her own choice because she's looking inside of this world and seeing that she's in love, that she has friends, that there are things she accomplishes in this world that bring her satisfaction. Whereas in the real world, like I mentioned, she's just very robotic, very corporate, very cold. It's all about serving Kier, serving your family. So there's something that I didn't expect whatsoever. And I think it gives that character room to, start from the it's like they're starting all over again. How do you, learn to be the Heliar that we saw progress throughout season 1? So I think that's really fun. It's like a reverse, the end is the beginning type of deal for her on a personal level. And that's what they're doing such a good job of, because they sprinkled it in, the personal stuff in season 1, but most of the focus was on Mark. But now they're opening it up to what these characters have going on in their personal lives. Like you said with Irving, there's so much there. Did he used to work at Lumen and then he was severed twice? And people are saying that he used to do Milchek's job and that's why he knows the elevator. And also the communication that he's doing with himself. Is it his wristwatch? Has he found, some sort of language that can't be detected by the Lumen offices in order to relay these messages back and forth to himself or whoever he might be working with? And then with Dylan, with his family. And you said that we do see his wife in a trailer. So even knowing that she's a real person, there could still be some deception, subterfuge. And like you mentioned, just all the bullshit that they told them in episode 1 not being true, you really just can't take their word for anything. Just anything they say inside or even outside of Lumen could be total bullshit. So it's impossible to know what to believe. Like with Mark and Gemma, who knows how deep that rabbit hole really goes? Because we don't know. Shit, motherfuckers could be severed.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something to the red and blue lights. I don't know if it's just a simple homage to the Matrix, but I mean, throughout the first season, again in this season. There's been more green, even though like The Office is green in season 1. There's been some more introduction of some greens in there. But even when Mark goes to, like, change his light bulb before it dies, it flashes red. I meant to Google what the red and blue pills mean in Matrix, which one's which, because I always forget. But
red is it breaks you out.
Okay, so I think it's more, could just be an homage.
You know that because of conservatives always being like, take the red pill. I'm like, oh, brother.
Yeah. But it continues into the outside as well. So I feel like that just further like cements in my mind that even what we perceive to be reality isn't what it seems. And even like weird shit like with Dylan going to the job interview was fucking hilarious though. But like, is it a coincidence that guy looks like him?
Totally. Yeah. I wanted to bring that up on the review I did, but I totally forgot. I'm like, man, I should have mentioned that these guys are like twins. And it goes back to in episode 1 when Mark says that you guys were all replaced, and Dylan thinks that they actually replaced them, like they look like the old person. Yeah. And there you go. He's sitting across from someone who in another reality could have been Dylan G. And also the idea that it's such a controversial issue to the public being severed that someone is going to discriminate against you for a job opening, which also makes me believe that that's a setup. That's fake. That's just another way to keep them prisoners to Lumen.
Well, that company
will set you up on this fake job interview. Yeah,
like that's some like Truman Show shit, like the door company. Like that's not a real place. You ever just see a doors, like just a door company, and that's the name of it? It's just like
I was wondering if that was
a very generic fucking placeholder for just, let's just try to make it seem like it's a real society.
It reminded me of fucking Monsters Inc. with all the doors going back and forth.
And even, it's been 3 days and they were able to get that whole fucking claymation animation set up, which makes me believe either they just got 24/7 animators or AI.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah. Well, they're using AI, which is Lumen's greatest crime, in my opinion.
They got those boys working like Mappa.
Yeah.
You know, it was a really funny reoccurring bit, fucking Milchek with the pineapples, him showing up to the door. And I loved when Mark looked through his, the hole in his door, and Milchek looks miserable. And then when he opens the door, he has to put on that big fat smile. So they're working that man 24/7, and he was patrolling the streets like fucking Batman in this episode on the motorcycle, Rickon complimenting his helmet. But the shenanigans that they have this grown-ass man pull, I do wonder who's going to be the first one of the higher-ups that breaks. Like, will eventually Milchek be like, this is not worth it. This is just too much.
I don't know. Cobell looked like she was almost going to break. I think she's too deep into it. She's like the cop that gets fired from a case, but they're still trying to solve the case.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's the way she's going to go, where she's not going to be sanctioned by Lumen, even though she's got this bullshit position. It's like she was fired, but yeah, she's going to just keep investigating. She's going to try to keep everything in check and do damage control. Although Milchek, I thought, did a, pretty good job this episode. But yeah, there in the end, we also thought, is Mark going back to work because he wants his innie to really finish the job, find out what happened to Gemma? But it looks like there in the end, during that confrontation with Cobell, that he now believes there's something more to the story. Because like you said, them playing with the idea that he was so excited that they saved the baby, but now it looks like he's ready to buy in. And I had mentioned that, with Devin, her being removed a bit more from the tragedy of Gemma's death, even though she considered her family, and she is family, it allows her to embrace this conspiracy. Whereas Mark is just so earth-shattering that you don't even want to think about the possibility that you went through all these stages of grief just to find out that your wife is still alive. And for Devin, it's sad because even in season 1, she was very skeptical about what was happening at Lumen and the possible abuses, and just Severance inherently is an abusive thing to do to yourself. So she's always been the one looking out for Mark. And that's what makes it so sad. They just both want the same thing. They want the best for each other. But now you just throw an absolute wrench in their relationship. And then you have this fucking dickhead stalking them, Mr. Drummond.
Yeah, that's a big boy.
That's a Nordic god. That man stormed the shores of my English small town. I'm like, guess we're Vikings now.
Yeah. I just want to see him break bones. He knows how to do it.
Oh, dude, yeah, I want to see him fight.
Like someone punches him, he just grabs your hand and
Yeah, that's a scary man. But I mentioned that it looks like he's got authority over Helly, which is interesting, which makes Helly even more of a pawn. You know, at the end of season 1, seeing her in that position and seeing how, mean she was to her innie, you expected her to be in more of a position of power. And she is. But there are still people hovering over her and telling her what to do. So I found that interesting that not only is he there to keep the Lumen employees in check, but also Helly. I do hope we see him inside of the Lumen offices, because even Granger was scary in season 1, but this guy's a fucking boss. You see this guy patrolling the hallways or taking you into the break room? He might change the definition of the break room. He's like, no, it's a real fucking break room now.
Yeah, I wonder if he was the guy behind Mark in the hallway. Although that guy looked a little smaller.
He did look a little smaller, yeah.
I would have noticed that the fucking Big Show was standing there. And Bert, we still really don't know what happened, because by the time Milchek gets to Irving's house, he's home already and doesn't tell him anything. So it seems like he's obviously hiding something from Lumen, and Bert following him. What's that about? I've seen a lot of interesting theories. Does he work for Lumen? Is he working with the doctor who does the severance procedures? Is he on that team, like on Petey's side? Petey's side sounds like when you kill someone named Pete.
Yeah, it's a Petey side.
But is he on Petey's side? Is he working with that crew? I don't know. I hope he's like on the good team. But it would be fucked up if he was like a Lumen fucking extremist and he manipulates Irving.
Yeah. I was wondering the same thing. Like, is he just curious now because of what happened at the end of season 1? And he does his own digging? Or is he just not letting on how much he knows? I mean, it's not that we haven't really had any conversations with Bert outside of the Lumen offices, but it just goes to show, like, in other shows, if a character, like House of the Dragon did this time and time again, it's like, oh, remember this character? We're just going to throw in a scene so you don't forget about them. And it's just like, that was awkward. That didn't fit. But for Christopher Walken, who made such a great impression in season 1, and for his first scene, the first look that you get at him in season 2 is him simply driving up, sitting in his car in the dark, looking ominous. That's all you need. And it's just like, what the fuck is he up to now? And it just goes to show that, they have a lot of built-in advantages with the narrative that they've crafted, where they can show a significant character for 10 seconds and you're like, man, what does that mean?
Well, it's interesting that he had him mapped out on his map.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, Audi Irving has some interest in Bert one way or the other.
That's also, it really makes you think they had to have had maybe some connection before this. Playing it with the idea again of true love. Like, we'll find each other in every office, in every Lumen office, no matter where they relocate us. No matter how many times we're fired and brought back or severed, it's always going to be Irving and Bert, or Bert and Irving.
I would have really enjoyed refining microdata with you.
In another life, I would have enjoyed looking at paintings of Kier outside the wellness office.
Yeah, maybe it's a fucking multiverse.
I think they could go that route. I mean, so many shows these days have been doing the multiverse. It feels like in, like the 60s, everybody was obsessed with space because of the space race. And we're sort of in the multiverse era. But it kind of feels like the multiverse already.
Dylan G, we need you to stop Kane.
Yo, that would be fucking... They said Doctor Strange isn't going to be in Doomsday, but maybe Dylan G will be in it. Fingers crossed.
He'd be all about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's actually in the MCU. He's in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. All right, there we go. There's the tie-in.
He starts vlogging the fight. And then when it gets real serious, he gets all scared. It's literally just Dylan G.
The Rizzler has to be in the next Black Panther, right?
Yeah, no, they should make him the CIA liaison. The Rizzler doing Wakanda Forever in a Black Panther movie could be the, how we get this country back on track.
No, either ruin everything or fix everything.
Yeah, no, it's a risky move. I'm not saying it's not without risk, but I think we're at the point, you need to roll the dice. I don't think Noah was confident when he built that ship, but he had no choice.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
People forget about Noah.
I don't. Think about him every day.
I wanted to, build on your point about how the show looks great. I remember reading an article last year about how Netflix executives were telling creators, make sure that you don't put too much in a shot, because we know people are watching these shows on their phone. It's going to be a bit lower quality. So don't pay too much attention to the visual aspects of the show, or make sure that it's just, there's not too much going on in the frame. Meanwhile, Severance is shot like a movie.
How do you tell that to a creator? And they're like, okay, probably with a lot of fucking money. But
I think the money definitely makes a difference.
Like, imagine they told David Lynch, like, yeah, don't do that. Don't put too much in a shot. Cut the scene shorter.
It's just so anti-art. Or even telling them, like, oh, make sure that you have lines of dialogue that lets the viewer know what's happening on screen in case they're not paying attention, because a lot of people watch shows while doing other tasks. I would just commit seppuku right there in the Netflix offices. I'd be like, you guys need to pay for this, and there's no way to pay for it other than me changing the trajectory of your lives.
Yeah. No,
or doing what happened with the raccoon in front of them. Colin Nash.
No, but it is, I mean, say what you will about Apple. I feel like they put a lot of effort into, obviously they spent a lot of money too, but they definitely put a lot of effort in putting in quality shows and movies. If you look at their catalog, like I was going through their movies last night, not a lot, but like, I mean, a lot of them on the movie side, you have like those Netflix type movies, but I feel like the shows they're crafting have been pretty exceptional so far.
Yeah. And, just complimenting the visuals again, I saw a great post about comparing a lot of the shots in this episode to Edward Hopper paintings, who was a master of capturing the melancholy of modern life, the loneliness, the emptiness of it all. So when they're outside of Lumen, inside of Lumen, I think they have a lot of fun with the geometry of their visuals and the way that they create these patterns and puzzles and move the characters around. Outside of Lumen, it really just becomes these beautiful shots of, as I mentioned, the melancholy, the loneliness that these characters are experiencing in this world. And they're so cold, yet so pretty to look at. So just compliments to them and Apple for not telling them to make their shows look like shit on purpose.
How much time has passed since episode 1?
That's interesting, yeah. Because I hadn't even thought about the 5-month jump. I think I just totally forgot about it, but it feels like it could just be like a week, or even a few days, where they bring in this new crew. It doesn't work out. They fire them. They bring back the originals.
No, like the pilot, like season 1, episode 1.
Oh, the pilot.
It's been winter for either like a week or like a year.
Right. And then when you talk about how the technology isn't adding up, where they're using smartphones, but all the cars are from the 80s. It's frozen in time, but it's not. So I guess it's always being winter points to that. Something's up here. Things aren't progressing forward. That's why the seasons never change. That's why everything looks the same. And that's why the technology is out of whack. Some things progress, but not everything. It's very strange. And even inside of Lumen, it feels very, 1970s with the computers, with the desks, with the layouts. So there's like a weird sort of convergence of two different times. Now, that could, point to something in the narrative that will be revealed later, or could be an aesthetic choice. But I think that this show is too smart for that not to add up to something down the road.
Yeah. It's just something you don't really like. I haven't really paid much attention to, but there's something.
Well, they never
off.
really bring attention to it. That's what the show does so great, is that all these little quirky and weird things that you notice, they're just there. And then you start to think about, like, why is that there?
Because even Cobell is a shitty car, but you're like, oh, she's just playing the role as, she's not trying to indicate that she's Cobell to Mark, If she was pulling up in a fucking range every day, living next door to Mark, trying to sell that story that she was just at her own little mom and pop shop, Mark will probably be like, that's interesting. So I just thought it was like all part of the disguise, but no one's
up in a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why there's definitely more to Rickon's character as well. I imagine down the road something is going to be revealed where there's a connection between Rickon and Keir, because they feel like the two gods of this world. And even when Rickon is telling Mark that, your innie was a delight, and he really liked my book. And Mark was surprised about that. He's like, your shitty ass self-help book. So I think there's going to be more revealed there. But when he compliments Milchek's helmet, it does feel like Milchek's gear was very modern. So maybe it's just he's never seen a helmet like that, where it's just so modern. I don't know what's going on with these characters, where it's like they're living in two fucking different timelines. It's just these little things that they say, you pick up on them and think, could that mean something more? But even just a detail like that. And Kobelvig, I thought, was really funny. And once again, he suggests that they use Kobelvig, and then in the next scene with Mark and Devin, she uses it without, making a joke about it. It's not said ironically. She's just like, so where do you think Kobelvig went?
Yeah, they're an interesting couple, Devin and Rickon. But yeah, I hope Rickon I don't want him to be anything more than he is. It would bum me out if he was just like some undercover agent of Lumen somehow.
Well, I do wonder if he's someone who inspired an uprising within Lumen. He was the one that maybe tried to get them to all unionize or something like that. And they found him to be such a threat that they had to sever him. But even without those memories, it's kind of coming back in a way of writing self-help and focusing on labor, the way that people are exploited by their employers and finding the value in yourself as a worker. I think that could be an interesting sort of dynamic between Keir and Rickon, being the two forces that are driving this show. And then maybe it all comes back to unsevering Rickon. He's the chosen one.
I feel like it could
he's like the Gandalf.
He would love that.
Yeah,
the more I think about it, it would be so interesting if there's just layers of severance. Like your work life, that's like the base of it. Or even further down if you want to get into what Gemma's doing. But as like you kind of unfold these layers, like then outside, the outies, what we perceive as, that's another level. And then there's another thing above that. So it could just be a fucking, who knows how deep it goes.
The upcoming titles, really spooky. Like the next one, Who's Alive? Then the next one, Woe's Hollow. Then Trojan's Horse. And then Attila. So
Attila the Hun?
Yeah, they're bringing up Attila.
Oh, no.
The Hun.
I mean, Trojan Horse could refer to Heli, right?
Right.
I mean, Who's Alive? It's interesting because that's one of the shots from the trailer that kind of stuck with me is when they, on the projector, I think it just says Who is Alive.
Yeah, and then there were also the missing posters for Miss Casey. So I wonder if that's going to correspond. Maybe they create their own propaganda film to inspire a revolution throughout the different offices. Like, we're missing one of our friends. Imagine how many of your friends have been killed as well.
What would be the lamest thing they're doing? Like all this for what?
Like they're just working for Sam Altman. They're trying to get shoe drops. New Jordan drops. They're trying to gobble up all the Jordans and resell them. They're just a bunch of resellers.
Yeah, they're like trying to that's good. Or like automate like crypto markets.
Yeah.
To buy.
It's real dorky shit.
They're fucking trading fucking fart coin.
Gobbling up all the Taylor Swift tickets, reselling them.
Yeah.
It's a whole cult based on reselling Taylor Swift tickets.
That would make sense. I would kind of buy into, I feel like that humanizes Lumen a little bit, you know?
I want Teddy to watch this show so much because I just want to see what his biggest takeaways are.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a hard show to follow. There's just so many questions it asks, you know? It's like, I feel like up until this point, they're giving you the information. They're not like, they're hiding, but it's not like I feel like I'm lost. You know, you can only reflect on what's given to you, where I feel like a lot of other shows that are mystery based are, confusing on like they're just confusing just to be confusing, you know?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Right, like they're giving you what they're giving you, and it's you're following along to this point, but you still there's just a mystery there that's waiting to be unfolded.
Yeah, you feel very confident that they know what they're doing, that they're not just throwing shit at the wall. And Ben Stiller has said that all of the actors know how the story is going to end. Which doesn't mean that it's going to end, that it's going to have a good ending, because we've heard that before. Like, yeah, we know where it's going, and where it's going ends up sucking. But it very much feels like it's something that's been mapped out, and they're following a path. And I imagine, here and there, if something just feels better, you make a change. But it definitely feels like we're on a road where we can't see the finish, but we know that it's there. We're not going to fall off a cliff here. Fucking do the Roadrunner. Wile E. Coyote wave. Motherfucker was defying space and time to pull off that wave. Did you see that real life story of somebody who painted a tunnel on the side of a cliff or a mountain, and somebody drove into it?
That's impressive.
Literally a Roadrunner crime.
Looney Tune ass hijinks. I don't know if I'd be impressed or fucking pissed.
It's because if you look at it, definitely in the nighttime, you could see yourself just driving headfirst into the fucking side of the cliff.
That's fucking
because he nailed the perspective. You know, it was like curved a bit. It like got, you know, smaller as it went on. Like, oh my God, this is a shortcut. Lucky me. That was Wile E. Coyote every time.
Yo, he was. he had that coyote in a fucking pretzel.
Yeah, dude. Just out there trying shit. Like, you think he'll fall for this?
Yeah, he wasn't even like, at a certain point, he's like, oh, let's just see if this works. He wasn't even trying.
He's like, this is dumb. This is not even fucking fun anymore. God, we need a modern day Looney Tunes movie or something. Need the tunes back.
So, yep, there he goes. Piano teeth again.
Oh. Play me a tune, Mr. Piano Man, you fucking prick.
Yep, piano has teeth. Seen that before. Gotta get back to the drawing board.
All right, well, I think we can end it there for this review. Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig. Great episode, and just based on the reviews, based on the vibes, based on my own gut feeling, it feels like the season's only going to get better. And I keep getting tricked by that episode being uploaded. So they keep doing that. They're like, oh, here's the next episode, but it's not out yet. I'm like, fuck.
Well, what time does it come out on Thursdays? Because I thought it was midnight.
Roadrunnered me again. I don't know.
I
thought it was 3 a.m. Yeah. Was it 9?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. I watched it at like 10 o'clock, and that's only because I saw on Twitter that someone was like, watching the episode now, and I was like 45 minutes ago. I'm like, all right, well, let me check this out.
Bro, what the fuck, man? We could have done a 2-man the next morning.
I know.
I didn't even know it was out. I woke up at 6 a.m. to watch it. Oh, thank God. Now I don't have to do a fucking solo review anymore.
Yeah. We got bamboozled.
No, we got Roadrunnered.
Or none of us just Googled it.
Yeah, same thing. Wile E. Coyote could have just, you know, Uber Eats.
Yeah, should have got that Dash Pass. Fucking sucker.
Oh my God. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Well, no, go ahead and comment. You can't comment yet because this hasn't been published when we're recording it. But go ahead, let us know what your thoughts are on these first 2 episodes and your theories and things that we missed. And like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Aaron, thanks for joining me, and excited to get you back next week for the first review. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is, I think if it's not Sunday, I like a good Thursday drop.
Oh, I love a Thursday drop. Yeah, I think that's a good day. Get the weekend to talk about it.
Right. And it's like, yeah, Thursday, 9 p.m. Because, yeah, it's like the weekend. Like Friday doesn't matter, right? So you can stay up a little late. You can watch the show, hop on the forums for a little, see what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, it's weird that so many shows, just the way that they are released, makes no sense. I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but the fucking binge model. Let this be a lesson. Please. They won't learn.
Nope. But it doesn't matter. It's all going to be over soon.
Damn. Pro said the planet's melting into cheese whiz. That's crazy. All right, guys. Well, get your spoons ready.
That's not what I said, actually.
Oh, shit. I thought you were I don't know. I just went with climate change. I went with one of the apocalyptic angles.
No, yeah, I could see that. But, I mean, to extrapolate cheese whiz out of that is crazy.
End it there.